Hey folks, we're going to start in a few minutes. In like 2 minutes, we'll start admitting folks in.
Professor, you're muted.
Yeah, I get a little thing when I'm muted. So welcome to Monday, everybody. I'm still admitting people. People are coming in. So I hope you're all well. And I didn't know it was going to snow. And I'm looking out my window and it is snowing. It's snowing. So yeah, so welcome. I hope you had a good weekend. At this point, by the end of class, at the end of class, I'm gonna, the idea is to end about like 1:30, talk about the assignment, and by then, if all goes well with my hi Rifat, that all goes well with how the class goes. I mean, all of your assignments would be graded. Most of you, I would think I think there's only like 3 who submitted the poetry and theme assignment who have not gotten a comment on it, but I encourage you to do so, because I think, as what we call this in teaching, is scaffolding. So if you notice your assignment, first you focused on the body paragraph, right? When we did the first thing on symbolism, and then we did this poetry and theme. So we're starting to construct. You started to construct an essay, and then last class we talked about an essay, and then specifically slow down about the structure of an essay. And then, so take a look at the assignment, take a look at my comments, right? A lot of times if you got, where is the sentence that states the theme and the poetic element, that was one of my comments, that means that technically you're missing the thesis statement from that paragraph, that introductory paragraph. And so take a look at that, but not now. At the end of class, we're gonna take 5 minutes for everybody to go there. I think one of the things I want to do today is have you. So So we're going to begin with heartbeats. I asked you to take a look at that, right? I asked you to take a look at the handout that I went over slowly in class. I put the handout on Blackboard now. So now we have a folder where we're going to be uploading the class lectures. So they'll be on there so you can see them. And I know for sure I put the last one up there, and I think maybe the one before that. I may put them all, but I did it last week, so I can't remember what I completed. But I know I was determined to get our class, at least the one that folks were asking, the class I did last week, going over that handout. So hopefully you took a look at it. So that was one thing, was to read the handout. One thing was to read the poem Heartbeats. This third thing, there were four things. The third thing was for you to start thinking about the poem that you're gonna do for your essay, which is gonna be due in a week, is due next week. And the fourth thing was to look for my comments. So we'll do that at the end of class, the last few minutes of class. So first I'm gonna continue with heartbeats today. And then what I would like to do today, and I think that will be possible, yes, is then I'm gonna have, the work that we've been doing, that I've been doing with you, in terms of talking about poems and reading poems, and the work you've been doing on your own, right? So that you can do your assignments, that looking through the book. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to, break you all out into different breakout rooms, which would mean that you will have to talk to each other, even if you don't want to open your video, but you do have to talk to each other. And then I'll assign each group a poem, and then you have to look at that poem. So two things that make sure you have access to your poetry assignment. I think I have some of the poems separately. I was trying to get them all up and email them to the whole class so that everybody can just look at their email. But I think only 3 of the poems that we're going to look at, and maybe we'll look at those 3, but depending on how many students are here today, we have 18. So yeah, so it could be, if there are 5 groups, that would be, about 3 or 4 people per group. All right, but anyway, I'll work that out in my head. So yeah, so let's just hop in. Let's go right back to heartbeats. So just to bring us back and ground us and bring us back to the moment, I'm going to read the poem again. We began talking about it. We'll just spend a little more time talking about that poem in particular, and a little bit will be review, and a little bit will be us expanding the conversation. So let's see if I could do this, share my screen. And boom, it's right there. Cool. All right, let me admit Chantel to the class. So I'm going to read Heartbeats by Melvin Dixon. Let me make this a little smaller. Yeah, okay, I guess that's going to be it. Hopefully you can see it. I know some of you if you're looking on your phone, might be small, but I'll do my best, okay? So one of the things, just to ground people, remember that now that we know this, that one of the things we know is that Melvin Dixon is working with sound, right? One of the sense of imagery is sound, and that what he has done is, because of the rhythm of the poem, he's done it in the rhythm of a heartbeat, like boom, 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 right? And so now I'm going to read it. In case you were not here on class on Wednesday and didn't see the video, that's almost as far as we got with the poem last time. So, Heartbeats by Melvin Dixon. Work out, 10 laps, chin ups, look good, steam room, dress warm, call home, fresh air, eat right, rest well, sweetheart, safe sex, sore throat, long flu, hard nose, beware, test blood, count cells, red thins, white slow, dress warm, eat well, short breath, fatigue, night sweats, dry cough, loose stools, weight loss, get mad, fight back, call home, rest well, don't cry, take charge, no sex, eat right, call home, talk slow, chin up, no air, arms wide, nodes hard, cough dry, hold on, mouth wide, drink this, breathe in, breathe out. No air, breathe in, no air. Black out, white rooms, head hot, feet cold, no work, eat right, CAT scan, chin up. Breathe in, breathe out. No air, thin blood, sore lungs, mouth dry, mind gone. 6 months, 3 weeks, can't eat, no air. Today, tonight, it waits for me. Sweetheart, don't stop. Breathe in, breathe out. Right? So, if we build on the idea that this was a heartbeat and that Melvin Dixon used the rhythm, right, or the meter of a heartbeat to tell the poem, and he titles it Heartbeats. So, when the poem begins, what's happening, right? There's this like the heart is beating, right? But when you get to the end, what happens at the end of the poem with the heartbeat? You can unmute yourselves or take a stab at it in the chat. Anybody want to take a guess?
It starts to slow down.
It slows down. And then what happens, Daniela? At the end of the poem, it what?
I'm sorry. This is actually Tizel. I'm using my sister's Zoom. That's why it
Okay.
should be name.
I thought so. I was like, I didn't know. But then, sometimes people like to use a different name.
Yeah. It ends up stopping.
It stops, right? What happens when the heart stops?
Person dies.
You die, right? A person dies if your heart stops. So here's a poem, as some of you, one of you wrote about it as was your assignment. And I think one of the things we identified was that in it, there is like talking about an illness, right? That something is happening to this person, right? And but by the end of the poem, whatever has happened, the person has died, right? The person in the story has died. So one of the things we know about Melvin Dixon is that Melvin Dixon died of AIDS in 1992. And if you look at the progression of the work in here, you'll see that basically he's talking about a lot of the symptoms that people had when they got HIV and AIDS, and when in 1992 or in the early 90s, 80s and 90s, if you got AIDS, it was essentially a death sentence. It was a disease. They didn't really have medication to treat it, and it's a disease that your body becomes weaker and weaker, and then gets infections and things that it can't fight, and then ultimately, unfortunately, the person would die. So if you look at the progression of the poem, so the thing is, it's so wild to create a poem that has a heartbeat. So the poem, in a sense, is alive while you're reading it, and then the poem stops right at the end and it's gone. And then if you look at the last lines, it says, "Sweetheart, don't stop, breathe in, and then breathe out." It's like taking the last breath of the poem. Great. If we look at the poem at the beginning, right, here you're seeing on the screen, the first lines, right, are almost healthy, like workout, 10 laps, running, chin-ups, right? You're doing chin-ups, look good, right? Steam room, right? Probably a gym to cool down, dress warm, call home, fresh air, right? First 2 stanzas. Then the next one, eat right, rest well, sweetheart, safe sex. Like sweetheart is what? A lover, right? Somebody that's your sweetheart. And then having safe sex, right? So that was one of the ideas of safe sex or the concept of safe sex was really became very prominent as HIV/AIDS education, education and information, right? So there we get like a tip to what this is about. And then the next one, by the third stanza, we start seeing the person becoming sick, right? Sore throat, long flu, hard nose, beware, right? So there's sore throat, flu, hard nodes. Nodes are your lymph nodes. And so your nodes are usually under your arms. It's places people have lymph nodes. And in your groin is another place. And one of the things that happens with lymph nodes is when they get some kind of infection in your body, they swell, right? They get hard, you feel them. So same thing happens with cancer and some other diseases. Your lymph nodes get affected. So he starts, sore throat, long flu, hard nodes, beware. Test blood, count cells, red's thin, white's low. So the blood test, right? dress warm, eat well, they're trying to take care. Short breath, they're starting to feel sick, fatigue. Night sweats, dry cough, loose stools, weight loss. So um, those two lines, are all talking about symptoms of HIV/AIDS at the time. Night sweats was one of the symptoms that people would have, not just sweat at night, but like it's soaked, loose stools, diarrhea, weight loss, right? They would lose weight. There was a condition called wasting that people would get really, really skinny and almost skeletal, and they would die. But then the next one says, get mad, fight back, call home, rest well. So up until this point, there's been a lot of physical, right? Except for the beginning, there's also emotional, like call home, fresh air, right? Here it becomes emotional, right? Get mad, fight back, call home, rest well. So call home gets repeated again, right? When you're healthy, then calling home when you're sick. And then the next one is don't cry, take charge, no sex, eat right, right? So emotional, not to cry, taking charge, right? Another emotional thing. No sex is an activity to try to stay healthy, and then eating right. Then again, call home. So this person is constantly reaching home, but whether they get home or they get a response, we don't know, but they keep calling home, right? Call home again, talk slow, chin up, no air. So it's interesting. Earlier, if you look at the first stanza, he says chin ups, and chin ups are that exercise. And the second time he uses the phrase, it's just chin up. So chin up is like, stay strong, keep your chin up, right? Again, how poets use words very intentionally. Then arms wide, right? When you spread your arms almost like to embrace someone. Hard nodes, right? Nodes hard, again, he repeats it. So cough dry, hold on, right? So person's is deteriorating, they're getting sicker, saying hold on. Then mouth wide, drink this, breathe in, breathe out, no air. Now that one of the issues that used to happen with HIV/AIDS people, and one of the signs that they would get hospitalized was a pneumonia, and pneumonia affects your lungs, right? So there's all this stuff about breath and breathing, and breath is also life, right? So no air, breathe in, no air, like almost like somebody gasping and they can't get the air. And then it's blackout, white rooms, head hot, feet cold, right? So the person ends up in the hospital, the white rooms, right? Then there's no work, still trying, eat right, CAT scan, that's a medical, then chin up again, keep your chin up. Then it's all about breathing, right? Breathe in, breathe out, no air, thin blood, sore lungs, mouth dry, mind gone. And another manifestations of the last day of HIV/AIDS is dementia. People would start to get dementia, so their mind would be gone. And then they start, in the poem, starts to wonder, 6 months, 3 weeks, how much time do I have left, right? 6 months, 3 weeks, can't eat, no air, can't breathe, no appetite. And is it now today, tonight? It waits for me. And the it we imagine is death, right? And then he says, sweetheart, don't stop, breathe in, breathe out. And so that's the second time the phrase sweetheart is used. If you look at the third stanza, right over here, he says sweetheart, and there's one word. And so in a sense, he's talking to a sweetheart. But here, when Melvin Dixit writes it the second time in the last stanza of the poem, he says sweetheart. So he's talking to his own heart, like sweetheart, don't stop. Breathe in, breathe out. So this person fights to the very end, for their life, and unfortunately loses the battle. So the poem has a emotional and physical deterioration of a person with HIV/AIDS. He uses sound in the rhythm of a heartbeat, and what this used to be in years past. One of the assignments you can do for research, which would be to research on HIV/AIDS in the 90s and see how a lot of these symptoms match up. And so some of the information I've gotten just because I know, and some of this information I've gotten because I've read students' research papers, and they've matched up all of these symptoms that are in the poem to actual symptoms that existed. It's not that they don't exist anymore, but because there are medications that suppress the virus in the body, so now the virus doesn't attack the body, and cause all the illnesses that it used to cause before. But if people don't take medication and don't treat it, then they will fall to the same fate with this particular virus. Okay, so yeah, so I love you know, if you all wanted to write up an essay on this one, you can. This is any of the essays that we talk about, any of the essays that we do. You're welcome to check that out. Okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing the screen, and then actually I think I should be. I think I told myself I was gonna try putting myself in speaker mode, and yeah, I don't know if that works because I'm speaking and I don't see myself. But maybe if I'm speaking, I'm not the biggest thing. I'm trying to figure out for the recordings what's best. So if I'm in speaker mode, that that maybe the biggest thing you see is me talking unless I'm sharing my screen. Okay, great. So that was Heartbeats by Melvin Dixon. If we have time at the very end, I'll read one more poem today. On Wednesday, we're going to focus on any questions if you want to ask today at the end of class about the assignment that's due on Monday, the 1st, but we'll spend more time. I'll carve a little more time on Wednesday to talk about the assignment. And so by then, hopefully you've thought about what poem you're going to use. And for your assignment, or poems, you could use more than one for your assignment. And yeah, and we'll have that. Okay, so now I'm gonna type in the chat the poems, right? Let's see, I forget, every time I hit chat, the return, it goes into, okay. One is, excuse me one second, I'm just opening a file. Okay, so I put 5 poems in the chat. Let's see how many students are in class right now since we began. Okay, so now we're 20. Maybe we'll do 4. Okay, no, we'll stick with 5. All right, so there's 20 students in class. If I break you up into groups of 5, then there'll be 5 of you in each class. So I don't have, because I don't know who's gonna come, I can't set up the breakout rooms in advance. But let me explain a little bit about our breakout room. So when I hit breakout room, it's gonna divide you up, you know, randomly into different groups. If you, it will tell you what group you're in. Breakout room number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. So the number of your breakout room corresponds to the poem that's here. So if you could take a moment and get your poetry, the poetry packet out. All of these poems are in the poetry packet. I have the first 3 as individual poems, and maybe what I could do right now is just email those three. I was looking for White Lies and by Papa's Waltz as standalone poems, but I couldn't find them, and I couldn't extract them out of the poetry packet. So there's ways for you to communicate, and I can communicate back with you. But so what I'm going to do is we're going to break out the rooms, and I'm going to breakout rooms. You should get these poems. Take a look at them. I have, let's see, I have my packet open, and if I look at the table of contents, you can find them. Maybe I'll add that. So for instance, Natasha White Lies is on page 18. My Papa's Waltz is on page 21. I'm looking for the other ones to get the Curly, which is your Selly, is on page 51. Let's see, For My Own Protection is on page 61. And Don't Look at My Arms is on page 85. So let me see if I could do that again. So the poem from 1 is on page 85. The poem on the second one, Protection, is on page 61. The third poem, which is Curly, it's on page 51. So just take a moment. The fourth poem, which is White Lies, is on page 18. And where's the other one? 18. And 18 to 21. Okay. 4 is on page 18, and 5 is on page 21. Okay, so those are the poem. 1, Don't Look at My Arms. 2, Protection. 3 is Curly. 4 is White Lies. 5 is My Papa's Waltz. And Don't Look at My Arms, number 1 is on page 85. Number 2 is on page 61, 51. There's the pages in the poetry packet. Okay, so just have it handy. And this is what I would like you to do. When you break up into groups, so somebody either volunteer to read it out loud, so you can read the poem out loud, and then have a discussion at first, and you can spend like about 5 minutes, read it out loud, read it slowly together to make sure to see how you understand it. And then we're going to continue what we've been doing. So I want the group to identify or agree upon at least 2 themes in it, and I want the group to identify at least 2 poetic elements in the poem. Okay, and poetic elements, as you've been doing, could be symbolism, could be rhyme, could be, the use of sound, could be a closed form, identifying as a closed form. So all of those things. Okay, so any questions before and then you'll be there for like 15-20 minutes to be able to work it out. Like it's a little after 1 o'clock right now, and like it's my computer time says 1:01, so I imagine in the next okay, yes, Hassan is raising a hand. Yes, Hassan.
Excuse me, professor. So these are the 5 poems that we gotta choose one to write our essay about, right? The upcoming essay.
No, what we're gonna do right now is I'm gonna break you all up into break.
I understand, but the upcoming essay is gonna be about one of these poems, right?
You can. It's any poem that's in your poetry packet.
All right, thank you.
So it's anything in the packet or anything that any poem we've read. Also, the Elements of Poetry has several poems in it. But you can very well read one of these poems to the group and say, oh, I think I'm going to do one of these. So this is not required. You don't have, you're not limited to these 5. but you certainly can use any one or a combination of these 5.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay. All right, any other questions? So let me just go over that. So once you go in your breakout room, you have to you have to be able to speak together. So somebody volunteered to read it, and then read it. Maybe someone else could read it another time if you need to. But then all of you look at it, but then begin a discussion to say, either take notes or etc. On and identify like 2 themes and then 2 poetic elements, and then we'll talk about how that goes. Okay. All right, and I believe that will be available. Let's see. Medically. Okay, so then you'll probably get a little window that'll ask you to go into a room. Okay, and then it'll probably give you a number. All right, so I'm going to do it now. And okay, and it just gave me the breakout order. So I could see who is where. Okay, cool. And then like before the time is up, I'll send a little note to everyone. Okay. All right. I'm going to open the rooms and then you guys could go in. All right. Okay, I think everybody's almost back.
Hello?
Yeah. Okay. I'm just making sure everybody's back. Yeah. Okay. Um, okay. All right, everybody. Let's see how that. Curiously, how that went. Um, let's mix it up. I think the small group there was Catherine, Odalis, and
Sanjay.
Sanjay was group 4. So let's start with you. Your poem was White Lies by Natasha Trethewey.
A theme that we got from the poem is that she want to fit in thinking that being white is better than being black because she's biracial.
Mm-hmm.
2 elements we came up with is imagery and metaphor.
Okay, and did you, and why were there examples? Were there reasons why?
Yeah, one example for imagery is that we could see like her mom washing her mouth out with soap.
Mm-hmm.
And then for metaphor, we came up with like that as being a metaphor as well.
Okay. So, so for those of you who want to know, this is poem number on page 18, White Lies. And yes, I think your group, Sanjay, did a good job. It is definitely a poem about a young woman talking about her being biracial. And there is it's a poem that particularly has lots of imagery in it. One of the things it uses is a lot of black and white imagery. She uses words like, if you look at the last section here, and let me make it bigger so everybody could see this last stanza at the bottom that you were all referring to in terms of where the metaphors and stuff. She says, in terms of like the white lie, she goes, I paid for it every time mama found out. She laid her hands on me, then washed out my mouth with ivory soap. This is to purify, she said, and cleanse your lying tongue. But leaving her, I swallowed the suds, thinking they'd work from the inside out. So just ivory soap, we know is a brand of soap, but ivory is also white. Right at the beginning, she uses another sense. She talks about her clothes looking like they come from a place called Maison Blanche, which sounds like a store or a boutique. But Maison, for those of you who speak French, is house, and Blanche is white. So from the White House that she says her clothes come from. And then the poem is called White Lies, which is playing on the idea that it's like small lies, like white lies are considered little lies, and then big lies are not white lies. And the idea of white lies being that she's also lying about being white because she could pass. So so great. Did anybody else from group number 4 want to add to it? Okay. Then if not, let's move to let's go to the top. Let's try group number 1. Group number 1, I'm sharing my screen, so Let me see if I could open the chat 1 second so I could look at new. There it is. Group number 1 is was Don't Look in My Arms. I think that was it. I think that was on page 80 something. So we go to the end. Oops. Okay. So this is Don't Look in My Arms. Group number 1.
So, we were talking about this poem, and we were saying that is like a kid, questioning his mom, and like also that his mom had like an addiction or something. He had like was doing drugs or alcohol because like he's questioning his mom about things that happen when you are in on drugs or alcohol, and also the kids were taken away from the mom. And yeah, that's about it.
That's good. And what about any poetic elements?
So we agree that it had imagery where you could picture these images in your head, where our example would be picturing about the blue sky in the morning, or
Yeah.
a crisscross needle mark on somebody's flesh skin. And I also think it could be free form because it's not a rhyming. They don't seem to be a consistent rhyming scheme or pattern or musical tone to it. It just seems to be like he's just writing. Basically in a tone of how he felt, like where he probably felt abandoned and in pain.
Yeah.
From witnessing his mom doing drugs, and then his form of release was to escape in having intercourse with women.
Yeah, particularly prostitutes, if you pick that up, right? He says on top of women, here this section here, in the third stanza going into the fourth, right? And I can only find release on top of women who just pocketed my money that was pulled from a joint checking account. So not only was he finding release on top of women that he was paying, but he was taking the money from his joint checking account. So we assume that the person is married. So,
oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah. The longer you stay with the poems, the more you'll uncover. But you all did a great job. It's definitely about that. It's about a young person or a person at some point in their lives questioning their mother and asking them, like, what happened to you? And there is the drug addiction is there with the needle marks on the mother's arm. And you're right, that blue skied morning when he's Ed and I were taking from you on that blue, like what went through your veins when Ed and I were taking from you on that blue skied morning, right? So great points. And definitely it's free verse, what you were talking about as well. Great, thank you, group 1. All right,
Thank you.
Sure. Let's go to group number 2, which was like Coral and Elizabeth and Ramat, Xavier. And your poem was, let's see, let me open the chat. Just disappears, here it is. Oops, stop the share, but it's okay, I'm in the chat. Group number 2, the poem was Protection by Essex Hemphill. Coral, Elizabeth, Ramat, Xavier.
Hello?
Yeah, Christian?
Oh, are we on, my connection like is a little unstable. So anyway, are we in my group already or not yet?
What group are you? Christian.
Papa Walt. I wasn't sure
So
if you
group
called
number 5. Group number 5. So why don't we do that? Because I was calling on group 2, but they had. Okay. Who's speaking?
Ramat.
Okay, so Rama, you're going to speak for group number 2?
Yeah, I'm gonna say something.
Okay.
So I think that one of the themes of that poem was about survival, having the courage to defend yourself and then, save yourself if there's anything, like there's a war or something.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
no, go ahead, Professor.
No, go ahead.
And I also thought that one of the elements could be imagery.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I want to bring that up.
Okay. Anybody else from the group want to say anything? I'm just moving to the poem itself.
I also want to
Hello? Yeah, who was that?
reading it, the tone had like demanding, encouraging, and like sort of like empowerment to preach to others to and like to make a change for everybody, but mostly for for Black people, for ending racism and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's interesting that this poem was written back in the 90s, right? And it starts, I want to save an organization to save my life, right? If whales, snails, dogs, cats, Chrysler, and Nixon can be saved, the lives of Black men are priceless and can be saved, right? The idea of Black lives being priceless, right? And the whole idea, particularly this year, last year with the summer of, Black Lives Matter. So this theme of Black lives mattering and being important has been going on for forever, for a long time. So that's what kind of like the idea of this poem is. So cool. All right, Christian, since you were speaking before and you're with group 5, let's do group 5 and group's 5 poem. Let me just go to
Okay, so 2 elements that we found were rhyme. That's because we read the poem and we saw that there was definitely rhyme there. For example, in the first 4 lines, the whiskey on your breath could make a small boy dizzy, but I hung on like death. Such waltzing was not easy. And towards the end as well, there's more rhyme. There's rhyme all through the poem, but I'm just keeping it simple. And then we have imagery, I believe, due to the fact that we're seeing a child who's innocent and is dancing with his dad and is still sticking around, although he's being abused and he's being beat. And we can see that his father's knuckles are like battered pretty much from beating the child, and so on.
Okay, does anybody want to add to it from Christian's group? So, okay, that was good. That was very good. So this is My Papa's Waltz by Theodore Rothke. And again, yes, what you all described is very much what's happening in the poem. There is a man dancing with a child, and I think we use this as an example for one of the exercises in class. But it's a rich poem. It does use rhyme. It's like follows a like each stanza itself. You could see if you look at them: breathe, breath and death, dizzy, easy, pans, stance, shelf itself, wrist, mist, knuckle, buckle. I'm looking at the ends of each of the lines: head, dirt, head, bed, dirt, for shirt. So right through the whole poem, it's this alternating rhymes that happen from line to line. And it is looking at this, there's lots of hints. There's definitely imagery in here. There's movement, right? There's the mother's face, her countenance could not have frowned itself. There is something about that. There's something clumsy, and even, you can talk about some folks read it as being abusive, and yet the confusion, or maybe the child at the end saying the father waltzes them off to bed and the child is still clinging to their shirt. This is another poem that was only me and Carlos did it. The girls. Oh, okay. Okay. So just to go back to team number 2, Coral made a comment. The author used illusion named Chrysler and Nixon. Oh yes. That was the protect myself. Okay, cool. All right, Christian. Well, thanks for that. And let's see, who's the last group? I guess
Thank you.
The last group is number 3. Carissa, Chantel. Oh, did we do that one already?
Curly, we didn't do Curly yet.
Oh, Curly. So that's the last one, right?
Yes.
Okay, so great. Let's do Curly.
Okay, so me and my group discussed that we believe the poem about Curly is about a young girl liking other girls from a young age. And the theme that we got was be yourself. And the element that we got out of it was imagery, because she talked about how she didn't like when her mother wanted her to be wanted her to be straight, and she wanted to be curly, and we imaged her mom doing her hair and her not liking it and wanting to play with other girls and stuff.
Yeah. So I'm just getting to the poem here. So yeah, definitely you all hit the nail on the head. Let me move these chats and things out of the way so we can see the poem. So yeah, so in this poem, Curly, Yoseli Castillo Fuertes is using the idea of curly as a metaphor for sexuality, right? So she's talking about curly hair and straight hair, and she's using all these metaphors about straightening the hair and making it, that curly is natural, that for her to be curly is natural, loose, natural, free. And that she does that parallel with her sexuality. So to be curly is to be queer, and then to be straight is for them to straighten her hair would be unnatural. So and she does a lot of that throughout the thing. Sometimes you can take it as face value too, and it is a poem that could be about hair. I mean, because it's all of the metaphors that she puts in there and all of the descriptions is about taking care of the hair, straightening it, putting in moños, which is buns, and different kinds of things. But in it, there's also a narrative of her and her relationship to her mother. Okay. Well, that was. Let me stop.
Someone has a question on the chat, Professor.
Yeah, let me take a peek. Wasn't there referring her curls as girls or something? Yeah, maybe I'm confusing it. The group, I remember reading it a while back. Yeah, she does make the connection with curls. At one point she says, I couldn't play with my curls, or with girls, I mean my curls, or something like that. So she does that. That's what we said. Yes, Catherine. What else? Only me. Okay. All right, cool. Well, you all did a great job. I hope you, you're closer and closer, ready to do your own, to write your own essays and pick your poems. And these are a group of them. And if any of these you were not in the group and they sounded interesting, you can go check them out in your poetry packet. So at this point, I think the only people, there is one student that have a trouble with opening her. Okay. That must have misheard you. Okay. What was that, Catherine? No, yeah, we're good. I think we're on the, yeah. So everybody, I think we're agreeing that the curls and the girls and it was the metaphor for sexuality.
Yeah, she said she didn't hear when we said that she was referring to girls.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. So so yeah, so we're at the end of class, but I'll of course always stay on a few more minutes. So I want you all to take a look at my responses. And maybe if when you come in on Wednesday, it's important to look at your responses. So you come in on Wednesday. Oh wait, am I off camera? Oh yeah, I've been off, sorry. Sorry, I've been off camera and I'm unsharing this. Okay. Yeah. So I'll be on Wednesday. We'll start with that, but take a look at them. So if you have any questions, but if you want to have office hours as well, for the most part, most of you did really well. Some of you forgot that thesis statement that we now can say is a thesis statement, that sentence that tells you what theme and what element you were going to look at in your assignment. And but otherwise, I think for the most part. But if there was one, I think there's maybe like one or two of you that that didn't do the assignment properly, and I gave you what the assignment was and what you did, so you can compare it. So if there's any questions there, you should be very clear, because this was taking you a step toward the essay, right? So if all of you did well on this assignment, then you're in a good position to wrap up and do well on the essay that's due on Monday. So, so we'll continue with that, take a look at it. There's only 2 students, and I was gonna try to go and look at them, but we're out of time. To like one student, I had trouble because the format you sent me your essay in, I couldn't open it. It was some kind of pages document, so I'm gonna upload an app to be able to open it. So I should be able to open it. And then the very last person that submitted their essay, I didn't get to do that, but once I get off class, I'm gonna do those. So by the next 20 minutes, 30 minutes, everybody should have my responses to the assignments that you did. And if you haven't done it, please do it, because if you could do it before Wednesday, I'll take a look at it and give you feedback, okay? So if there are no questions, I'll be here. But if there's no questions, you can say, so long, have a good afternoon, goodbye on the chat. And then I'll see you.
Professor?
Yep, I'm here.
So with the one that you just corrected our mistakes, do we do it again and resend it or no?
No, unless you want to, unless there's something in it that you like, oh wow, I was really off with it, let me fix it and send it to him. But really, it was really for you to, if you understand what the errors are, then it's okay. And if they weren't made, like, I would say that if somebody got the assignment wrong, and honestly, I'm gonna say wrong, actually I can think of 2 people that didn't do the assignment right. They were accurate, they understood the poem, they said the right things, but the important thing with this assignment was structure, right? When you're structuring an essay, so the assignment was really about structure as well as content, right? So that's always important to have that paragraph that described the author, that said what it had to say, that the next paragraph focused on theme, and the next one focused on the poetic element, and that you used examples. So we're looking at also how we construct body paragraphs. So the 2 that didn't do it, I'll say quote unquote correctly, they were correct in their information and the content, but they just didn't follow the structure.
Okay.
So for those people, if they wanted to do it again, in case they're unsure, it would be good, because that way they're one step closer to getting an A on the essay.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, for everyone else, I'm here and you can ask me questions, and if not, you can say so long, and I will see you all on Wednesday. And thank you for your participation today and your and the work that you did.
Professor, I have a question. At the bottom of my the second assignment that we posted on discussions, where we had to do the theme and poetic element thing, I saw that you put a comment right under my first paragraph, but I don't see anything else. Then in the bottom it says, "See my comments." You write, well, one general comment is for you to use more examples and stuff to illustrate the claims. But is that the only comment where it says like up there missing a sentence clearly stating the theme and poetic element, or is there comment somewhere else that I have to click on?
Yeah, you should see more than just missing the sentence. You should be able to see. There's let me see. Can you hang on a second?
Yeah, I'm here. Because you sent me a link where I clicked, and then that's
right. I'm looking at the link now, and there's more to it, and there's also stuff that maybe if I close it. Maybe I close them. I mean, it shouldn't matter. It should. Okay, if everybody else is done, Christian, hang on. Somebody else have a question?
For the paragraph that is due next week, that's any poem from the packet, right?
Right, and it's not a paragraph, it's an essay.
Well, essay, yeah. Yeah. And also what I was saying earlier was that I didn't realize it was about sexuality.
Oh, okay.
That's why I'm probably misinterpreted everything.
No, I mean, 'cause I think, did you do your assignment on this one?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, yeah. I think I responded to your thing, and it's fine. You know, because I said on the one hand, she is talking about hair, so you could understand it that. But then if you look at it a little closely, she makes a couple of references, and then now read it again, and you'll probably get it. You'll probably see it. You know, you probably.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense now.
Yeah. Yeah, but
Right.
that's the great thing sometimes of doing this exercise is that, you know, sometimes when we're alone, we read a poem one particular way, and then like other people read it, and then they bring something else that we just didn't see it. You know, it's not something we were tuned into. But then somebody else says something, you're like, ah, yeah, I could see that. Okay.
Yeah, that was it. Okay, thanks.
All right. Take care, Catherine.
Professor, I actually got to see the comments. I see where they are.
Mhm.
I see notifications. It says the theme that pops up to me is the fact, blah, blah, blah. Okay, what exactly is the theme and main idea of the poem of I Ain't Never, 13th Avenue, 1991? I believe the main idea is that the older brother, or the brother, didn't want to smoke crack, and when he saw his brother dying,
Christian, you want to hold on a second?
Yeah.
Unless you're okay with discussing with everybody in the room.
I'll hold on.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
better if let's just wait till everybody's done.
Yeah, I'm just gonna, if folks don't have any other questions, I'm gonna
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just saw my my essay, the 3 paragraphs.
Mhm.
Should I do anything with further, or should I just leave it like that?
I think should leave it. I remember yours. Yours, you know, you were, unless you want to do something to it.
No.
Did you see my
Yeah.
comments?
Yeah, I just yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Where can I find the recording of this class today?
Again?
The recording. Like, where can I find it? I'm sorry.
Also, not right now. I have to convert it to something else. But
Okay.
then in our Blackboard, I created a folder called like class recordings or something.
Okay.
They'll be in that class.
All right.
Hey, I think Viviano, did you just come late? Was that
Yeah, I really did. Yeah.
I mean, today most of the class was really us, you know, everybody working in groups to.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I was having trouble with my computer, and
Okay.
I was getting frustrated. So yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, but it'll be on, put it up.
Hi, Professor. I have a question on my assignment, right? I did it, but I don't see any comment in there.
So hold on a second. Maybe you.
Did I miss anything, or I'm just confused?
No, no, you're the last one. I mentioned that I said there's 2 people who have not gotten their comments, and it's the very last person.
Oh, that was.
But I'll do, as soon as class is over and I speak to Christian, I'm gonna do yours, and then there's one other person who the format was off. But I couldn't. It's not like Word or Google Docs. It's some other pages dot something. But yours, yeah. And like I was saying, like a half an hour, you can check yours. Comments on it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Professor.
All right, Rafa.
Have a good day.
All right, take care, Viviano. And I'm just gonna.
So this is difficult, Professor, to me a little bit, honestly. Let me get on camera, because here. So yeah, it's a little difficult. I'm nervous about the essay because I've never dealt with poems at all. I've always thought they were a little boring. But I'm gonna try my best. I mean, that's all I can do. And I did see the comments. So when you're asking for the theme and main idea, like, what are you exactly asking for? Because I wrote, this is what I wrote. I wrote, sadly, the theme that pops out to me is the fact that the older brother was so shocked, crushed, and devastated that he never wanted to smoke crack. But after seeing his brother succumb in front of his eyes, he thought that it would ease the mental pain he was feeling from seeing his brother shot to death.
Right.
So,
So what is all that? What do you think?
what is all of that?
Yeah. Everything you just described to me.
What is all of that? All that stuff that I just said?
Yeah.
I guess sadness.
Okay. That sadness could be a theme,
Desperation.
right? That could be that.
Okay.
The effects of violence, right? Because that's all
Okay.
that's a result of violence. That's what I mean. That's what
Right.
saying a theme. It's like the ideas that so the poet's writing about the effect of violence. They're writing about sadness. They're writing about, you know, the elements of drug abuse, right? So they're writing about, these are the ideas that are in the poem, right? That way you can then say, oh, here are the ideas, and then I'm going to describe, like, here's an example. I say this because in this line it says, you know, I never want to smoke weed or whatever it is. And again, and they're expressing like they want to be sober because of the violence, because, you know, so it's connecting the text to the idea. And then let me actually see if I can
Got it. Okay.
let me see if I can open yours 1 second.
And then it said add header with text burrito.
Yeah,
I
let me
think
just,
I did put burrito.
let me just open it so that we're looking at the same thing.
Okay, good. Take your time.
This is good because I was supposed to have a meeting at 2 and they canceled it, so that's why I'm like relaxed. Like,
Oh.
uh,
Thank God I get to get some feedback because.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to also share my screen so we could look at it together.
Okay. Let me just make this bigger.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So here we go. Yeah, I don't know if it was in your original. Let's see, because I could also open this one here. So this is your original document. Sometimes when things translate over, they don't come over. Yes. Oh, I know the problem with yours. So this is your original document, right? That you sent to me.
Right.
So if you look at the way yours,
Okay.
the way mine looks is different. So one of the things was you did put burrito in there, right?
Okay.
But you're writing it in the text, like in the page. Why is this doing this? Right.
Oh, you want it as a header.
Yes. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Okay. Okay.
That way it'll do the page numbering automatically for you. And if you're working in Word, you do insert. You know how to do it?
I know. Please, if you can show me an example, that would be nice.
So you go you go to insert, and then in Word anyway, it's page number. And then when you click page, it gives you, it gives you the positions. You say top of the page, and then, you find one here, and here's the one. So then you click one, and then it puts it there, right? You're up in the header, and then I'm going to click the header, type your name. Right?
Got it. Got it. Got it.
Okay. So it'll do it automatically for you there. So that was that, and then
cool.
And I think I was, whoops. Right, so that was that. Then here, so there, so okay. Sadly, the theme that pops to me is the fact that the older brother was so shocked, crushed, and devastated that he never wanted to smoke crack again, right? So, that's why a lot of times when I say, you just start literally like, you could say one theme or main idea in the poem. It could even be grief, right? Is sadness, right? Let's just use yours, is sadness, right? And then you would describe it, right? Describe what sadness is, or
right.
Another one is grief,
yeah.
So that's what. So sometimes it's good to start your topic sentence like being explicit, being literal, and just saying this is what it is. One theme is this. That way you're clear, I'm clear, the reader's clear, and then you can follow it up, right? I think the other thing, you do have like you do have this, where is it at, this example here, but I think that's another thing you can do to is also put more examples. Like here, you wrote the poetic element
More examples from
the text. So you wrote elegy, and
poem,
that's
right?
right. It's totally that, right? This poem is an elegy. You know, I actually know this poem. I'm going to tell him that you're the first person to identify it as an elegy, and he always talks about it, this elegy that I wrote. So you did, you hit them. So then, but you know what would be great, the older brother witnessed it and became very sexually, you know, very severely shaken by the experience and never wanted to smoke crack. So you go back to that, but the elegy by the younger brother has died. Therefore, one poetic element I have identified as elegy because it focuses on the writing about someone who has died. So then, like another example of specific text, right? I'm going to go back to the, so an example of like a specific line in the poem or lines that talk about an elegy. Maybe he's thinking about his brother, right? He's thinking about the impact of it, that shows it, and then you would be able to use that as well. Okay, I think you froze, but I can. So if you think of it, right, I think you started out okay. Right, let me just go back to you. Let me look at you.
Now, could you hear it?
Yeah. Oh, so the other thing in yours, let me share my screen again. It's important for you. Important for this.
Okay.
And important for, let me hear, look at this. So this line here that I said missing the sentence clearly stating that.
Right, that's what I was wondering.
Right. So literally the line, you know, other students would say, you could say something like this. Let's decide that sadness is what is the one theme you're gonna look at. So literally say, the poem. Okay, I could say one of the poem's themes is sadness, and the poetic element is that it is an elegy.
Got it. Okay, got it.
Then,
one of the poems.
Boom, right? And so by you telling me, right, that now I know that the first paragraph you're going to be talking about the theme of sadness, right? Theme of sadness,
okay.
First paragraph. And the second paragraph is going to be about elegy. So when I see that statement, I know that then the second paragraph is going to be the element of elegy. That's about elegy.
Right.
As a form.
And then for the actual essay that's due next week, I'm gonna pick 3 elements, or the theme, and 2 elements.
Correct. You can do that.
Or 3 elements, or whatever the case may be, and then
3 themes.
Each body, 3 themes, so 3 elements. Okay. So then each body paragraph, I will like you just described sadness. I'll talk about sadness and describe using examples from the poem and quotations and stuff like that. On the first paragraph, sadness. Second paragraph would be elegy, and then the third theme or whatever I choose, I would be talking about that. And in the conclusion, I would just sum it all together and pretty much close it up, right?
Right. So one of the things you could do is you could do that with this poem. You could use this poem and turn it into your essay if you want to, or you can pick a whole other poem and do that as well.
Maybe it would be easier if I do this one. Well, I don't know,
you started it already.
Gave me feedback.
Yeah, you started it already, right? So in a way, you've done it, and you know the poem, right? You can just sit with it again and read it, and then, like you said, pick one other element inside of it, you know.
Okay.
And then you can add that, but you already know that you already got feedback on what you need to do with that sentence, which we're going to call what it is, a thesis statement. So now you're going to say, I'm going to talk about a theme, I'm going to talk about this, and I'm going to talk about that. And so you talk about those 3
and
things.
That's the final sentence in my introduction, right?
Yeah.
That would be the final sentence in my introduction, the thesis statement, right?
Right.
Okay.
I got it. Yes to you, okay? Because you're right. That is that. And then And then now you know the thesis.
Is that iffy though?
Say it again.
Is that
No,
a
it's
little
not
iffy?
It's not
Because
iffy.
you said I'm gonna say yes to you.
Yeah, so let me tell you why. Because that's not the absolute rule. It doesn't always have to be the last sentence, right? It could be somewhere else in that
Oh,
paragraph.
got it.
But as long as it's in that paragraph,
Okay.
it makes sense. But the place that it makes the most sense almost all the time is the end of the sentence. It's the last sentence. So
Got it.
I didn't want to
Okay,
tell you
got
too
it.
much because I felt like you got that part. Let's go with what you got, you know. But definitely. So you have that. That'll be your thesis statement. That'll be for now. Let's work on that's your last statement. I'm gonna say I'm gonna explore this, this, and this. And then you follow that with your body paragraphs. And then you do a conclusion at the end.
Got it. Okay. Thank you so much, Professor. I appreciate you.
Of course. Excellent. So have a
All
good
right.
rest of your day.
Well, we'll see you on Wednesday, okay?
All right. And
You
thanks for your
too.
note, because I think
All right.
you put the note about the 2 young women that didn't participate.
Well, you know, it was just me and Carlos, and it's like, I'm like, well, we're being recorded, so they're probably going to go back on this
Oh,
video.
wait,
So
I'm
I don't
sorry.
want them to.
Should have stopped it. I'm sorry.